Good morning and welcome to, oh god, I leave for PAX in like 20 something hours. So let's do this quick. And when I say quick, I mean it's not gonna be that quick. Hey, welcome to Deck Tech for an armor deck that I picked up the day before the regional and managed to take to 70th? Yes, 70th. I do actually think this is pretty good. I know that placement doesn't sound great, but again, picked it up the day before, and all of my games were lost to bricks. You can actually see some of this in action. It's over on the main stream that Digipanda and Risu the Squirrel did, where literally my first game of round 2, mulligan to hand that had no rookies, drew back the exact same hand. But I actually think it's pretty good. There are some tech changes that I want to make, but I'll go over those in a minute. Well, when we're done with all this, you should be able to find a break in the thing for when we're going on to the next bits. I've also written down all of my experiences with the different matchups. I mostly played against Levias, because of course I did, but I'll have a couple of different ones, including some weird ones. There was a Beals, Luga, 3 Levias, 1 Numamon, an Omni Turbo, and at least one I'm forgetting. So you have that to look forward to. Anyway, I should actually have some of this and then we can get started. And yes, I put my armors in the Terrier sleeves to mess with people. Also, because I'm a green player and I need to pretend that these aren't blue cards. Oh, anyway, actually, let's start with the eggs because they're fairly simple. It's Bukamon! It's so busted that they've limited it to 1. I don't know what you frickin' want from me. It's Bukamon. Plus the 4 Wanyas. Yes, I'm running 5 eggs because we're running Uko. You'll see why soon. Frankly, before anyone asks, no, I probably won't swap to BT16 Uko. I am undecided. It's a maybe. We'll see. Right, what was I saying? Buka... Wanyas, right. Yeah. Yeah, Buka, it's great. I don't know what you want from me. Buka's a great card. There's a reason it's limited to 1 now. Wanyas, fair warning, the Buka is mostly just here for when we're able to get source strips off, or if we're getting early aggression. It also is kind of nice on just pushing out an Uko and suddenly, cool, it's got jamming, it won't die. Yeah. You can tell I picked this deck up the day before because my jamming VMons are all the basic art. And left to my own devices, come probably next week? No. 2 weeks, because when I get back from PAX. These will all be replaced and all be separate arts because there are 4... well, one of these will be the same, but there are 4 different jamming VMon arts. It's jamming VMon. It swings. It doesn't get hit. If you have an armor on top of it, it's great. Same thing with the promo VMon, because Evo into a free for 1 less if you have a tamer, which obviously is why we're also playing the promo Davis. The only issue here is that if you play tamers, any tamers, obviously you have to worry about Levia hitting security and forcing you to play out a tamer, and then getting a free evolution into Levia X mid-combat. That happened at least once. It was very unpleasant. Didn't even play anything out with Davis. It's just that Levia X gets to Evo off of tamers playing by effect, and you can't stop them if they're in security, so Anyway, turn 1 play still continues to pretty much feel like the best thing is to do Uko or this V in raising, and then play out Davis to cheat out the Searcher VMon for free, because then you're guaranteeing yourself 1 extra memory the next turn, obviously from Davis. You're getting the Search from VMon, and if you put Uko in, then you're guaranteeing yourself another extra memory and hatching an egg, so yeah. I don't love Uko in raising. It screws with some other things, because it also means you can't, like, mental training turn 1, but This Searcher V is obviously great. The multicolor one technically might be slightly more useful. This is the BT12 one that hits a Tamer with Davis in name and free and one Digimon with free in type. Actually, I think it's just, is it? No, it's card. So technically, if they start giving us options with free, but I don't believe there are any. So yeah, it's great. It'll continue to be useful. It's arguably the best searcher because, of course, Ukomon is a free type because it's supposed to be associated with the 0-2 tamers. It's great. I don't look it. This is a rush deck. We're obviously playing Uko. For goodness sake, every Numamon deck is playing Uko. I feel like you get this at this point. Louis at 3. I wish I could cut more of them because pretty consistently every time I did a Vmon search, I would end up bottom decking a Louis or one of two options that we'll get to later, Fire Rocket or a Heaven's Judgment. And I just don't love hitting Louis off that. It's statistically unlikely that it happened every time, but it happened almost every time, so only running 3 of that Vmon for exactly that reason. The end of turn DNA Digivolve doesn't currently come up. I think it might be maybe more useful in 16, but we'll see. Then we start getting into the actual armors. This is where I'm probably going to end up making tweaks after I get back, because I'm not super worried about tweaking before I run away for a week. I got 2 Flame Dramon. I don't like it. It's good because it's one of the only 2-cost evolutions we have, and it's free, so you can search it with Vmon, but it never dies in security. It swings at 8k, so it never dies in security, which means you never get to go into another armor, which wouldn't be as much of an issue, but this version doesn't have any armor textures, which I do intend to change. I'll probably end up cutting this down to just 1 instead of 2. I don't love the fact that it swings at 8k. Like, Devas is basically a gimme match, and it's still annoying there because half the stuff in their security is always going to be 7k, because all the Devas are 7k. It's fine if for some reason your opponent is leaving stuff tapped down, but most of the stuff that you care about killing at level 5 at 7k is not the sort of stuff that your opponent's going to leave tapped down, because it's going to be stuff like Dragomon and Waru Seedramon, both of which, if they're going into, it's a Levia deck, and they just played out a Leviamon, and you're having so many more issues than that now. I've got 3 Lydras. I actually want 4. For 2 reasons. One, it's another 2-cost evolution. The suspend effect kind of matters. It mattered in a couple of places, and there were a couple of places where if I had it, it would have saved me. But it's a little inconsistent. But mostly it's because it's a green source. I don't care about the fact that Flame Dramon's red, I just care about the fact that Lydramon's green, because you don't need to meet color requirements on Heaven's Judgment if you have a green. Right now, I only meet color requirements for Heavens if I have BT8 Magna, Lydra, or Davis and Ken. And this is easily the easiest to get into, so... this was a thing that got brought up on commentary and a little annoys me. I am running 4 of the new Security Magna. In fact, the reason I'm running this deck is because prior to... So the event was on the 16th, so prior to Friday the 15th, the entire state of Colorado had, at most, 48 copies of the new Bunny Starter deck. At most. We're pretty sure it was less than that. However, on Thursday, we had a snowstorm. This matters, because most of our big box stores get their drop-offs for card games on Thursdays, which means that they're usually getting products the week after they release for some reason. But because of the snowstorm, they got put out on Friday, which meant that out of nowhere, suddenly there were bunny decks available. So the entire Colorado player base scampered around town hunting up bunny decks, and I had two of them, but I needed one more deck to get the actual other two, so now it's here. Unfortunately, RNG was not in my favor throughout most of today. Saturday, whatever the hell day it was. I saw Magna in security, I think a max of 3 times. One of which was on stream against Levia. In fact, I think most of them were... No, one was against Melga. One was against Melga, one was against that Levia player. I feel like the other ones were also against Levia. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that great against Levia, because the D-Digivolve is awesome. However, by the time Levia is swinging, they've probably killed all of my VMons, so I won't get the free evolution. It mattered a little bit against Melga, but even then, it wasn't amazing. Which is to say that it's just the security effect is amazing, but it isn't always consistent. However, it's still a Magnamon, it's still very good. The source strip, especially because it strips more if you're hitting a 2-color Digimon, is great. And the potential bounce mostly just existed to remove blockers, and that literally secured me multiple games, was just, I've removed your blocker, swing. Same thing with Lydramon tapping down a blocker, because frankly, level 4 is where we see a lot of our blockers at, so. Then I also, because obviously, 4 of BT8 Magna. Yeah, no, these are not going to get blinged out, because I am not spending $60 for an alt art for, like, a 1.5 year old card. Heck, I think it's technically cheaper to just buy a bunch of boxes of New Awakening now. It's still great, especially on 2 promo Vmon. If you have a Tamer in play, you can go into it for only 2. Almost makes it feel reasonable. You get the unsuspend, which a lot of people kept questioning. I watched back on my feature match, I guess, to put it weirdly, kept questioning why I would do stuff like swing with Lydramons, and it's because I'm trying to get it armor purged. Like, I needed to get armor purged so that I can go into Magna, unsuspend, and get more checks. Literally, some of the games that I won were off of doing just the very classic armor rush play of Fire Rocket, or, well, have Jamming Vmon, Lydramon, Fire Rocket it, swing, first check, armor purge, second check, jamming, then Magna, unsuspend, get more checks. It's just good. Also, the DP buff matters. Notably, for some reason, they kept speculating when we were going to see an Awakening of the Golden Knight or Magna X. There are none. This is pure aggro. I will be adding one, at least, of Magna X. I'm undecided on Awakening. Though I might still do Awakening. Also as a one of. Solely because there were multiple instances where just some of them wouldn't armor purge. Everything except for Lydra, there's a 50-50 chance that they just didn't armor purge, so I need to get a way to shift them into something else and get the on-evo effect. So, like, going Magna into Magna just so that I can get the source strip and bounce, or going Magna into Magna so that I can unsuspend and have a blocker up with a very large face and technically multiple stacks of armor purge. That's also why I don't have any BT13 Magnas in here. Because one, I hate the play by effect because we're in a Levia meta. No matter what anyone else is saying, this is a Levia and Numamon meta, and Numamon's easy for this. Levia is not. And giving more ways for you to have to, well, not have to, but occasionally play stuff by effect. Nope. Nope. And it doesn't have armor purge, because the fundamental difference that I will always point out between the actual armors that have armor purge and BT13 Magna is that BT13 Magna throws out a Vmon. Sure, it might be the Searcher, which, yay, you got a Search. It doesn't have Rush. It's not a body who's already been on board. You're not getting any more checks with it. All of these can Armor Purge, drop down to the thing below them, and I can get more checks with it. That's the important part. This feels sacrilegious. Not that these are here before I show you what they are, but the fact that I'm going to cut them. At least one of them, if not both. Chimera just never helped. At all. Because in a Levia-based meta, I barely ever have 2 level 4s on board. Half the time when I managed to win against Levia, the ways that I won were just by being pure gas and using Louis and Ukomon to push out extra eggs out of raising and just swinging for the fences. Chimera was a dead card so often. The only times that I really cared about it were when I had managed to set up a ton of extra memory and could go into Chimera, or in at least one instance, hard play, it was either Elijah or a Flame, I don't remember which, but either way, it was one of the 5-cost armors. DNA into Chimera to give 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I think I grabbed one of the Magnas, so functionally getting 5 colors into 1 stack, so that I could Heavens and kill like 3 things. I don't even remember what opponent that was, but yeah, that was an experience. It's definitely in the VOD, which I've put up the whole stream VOD if you want to see all of the matches. Yeah, it'll definitely be up before this goes up. I'll link it in the description below. YouTube cards are always weird, but we'll see if I can get it to do its thing. Probably not, but it'll be in the description down below. I've got 2 Zudo Aces. I'm still undecided on Zudo Ace. It came in clutch a lot, and I'm just not 100% sold on how I feel about it. I liked it better than Chimera almost every time. And at least unlike Chimera, I can search it with Wisdom Training? Mental Training. Sorry, I've been playing a bunch of Luga. Mental Training, which that will forever be the issue with Chimera, is you just cannot search it. Before anyone asks, notably, I wish I was running Gold Vidramon in this, because it's another 2-cost evolution. Problem is, it's not a free type. It's a vaccine. So I also wouldn't be able to search it with Vmon, and I wouldn't get the cost reduction Evo from Promo Vmon. So we're not running it. Gonna be honest, I'd kill for that new raid promo Flame Dramon, and I'm still trying to decide if Sethmon or... I don't remember its name. Togeda something? That was a Pokemon. It's Togeda something, the Wormmon with the Egg of Friendship egg. I'm considering it, but it's not a 2-cost evolution onto anything except for Wormmon, so... Okay. I should point out, this deck is 100%, 90... I'm bad at percentages. 98%? 98%. Borrowed, stolen, whatever, from someone at my locals, because they smartly went, yes, the correct thing is to run 3 mental trainings. I actually think 2 is good, but also I was lazy and didn't know where I put all of my mental trainings, so I ran 2 and replaced the missing one with the best tech card ever. I'm not exaggerating. I will stand on this hill, and I will die on it, especially in this meta, where everyone cares about pushing out with their rookies. Even Levia, they can avoid it, but they much prefer to. Digimon Emperor is great. Fight me. Literally the only problem with it is that I kept forgetting about the All-Turns effect. But the opponent's turn 1 screwed over so many opponents. It's great in the mirror. It's great against Numamon, especially some of these black variants that are needing to, not even black variants, hell, all of them run Ugo, but they're running Ugo so that they can try and get advantage. They're running usually memory blockers or whatever works in their color. There's a black one that just topped in the EU that was running like double Dorus, which admittedly they don't care about pushing out with those, but it's an outlier. And the all turns just draw a card is great. I will die on this hill. It's great. I don't think I would ever want more than one, but just as a one of replacement for a mental training, yeah, no, 100%. I've already got Louise, Ugo, and Chimera that can't be searched by mental training, and we'll get to a couple other cards that won't be searchable either. So it doesn't feel bad to lose another search that's going to whiff a lot of stuff. Yeah. I mean, the evolution also is a little weird since our preferred target is to go on to promo VMon. And if you are training into one of the 2 costs onto promo, you're burning the promo effect. It's obviously better if you're going into one of the Magnas, but that's about it. Yeah. I've got 2 Davis and Ken. I'm pretty happy with that. Again, it's a little annoying to try and hit the color requirement for Heavens, but I don't think I would want to up the Davis and Ken count. I think Lydra is just better to get more armors and more 2-cost armors. Then I've seen a couple of people, like, the person who came up with this deck was talking about cutting down on fire rockets, and I think that's a mistake. I think 4 fire rockets is really good right now for 2 reasons. One, obviously it's an aggro card, and between Davis, Louis, Uko, and Davis and Ken, we actually have a pretty consistent chance of having really high memory, like absurdly good memory. So we don't really need to worry too much about the 1 memory to pay for a fire rocket on an existing armor, let it armor purge, go into a Magna or go into any of the others, use Davis and Ken to unsuspend and get even more checks. Like, it's just good. The only reason why fire rocket ended up getting replaced in some decks later, especially in Pyeldramon decks, let's be honest here, the BT8 version was a Pyeldramon deck. All that the Imperial did was help you get into Pyeldra again. Started running... Oh, I used to... Oh, there is one over here. Offensive Plugin A, that's what it's called. Which, yeah, it costs 1 less and has a more useful security effect at the time, but now Fire Rocket security effect is great in the current meta, because in the current meta, there aren't that many things that don't have blocker during the opponent's turn. Like, one of the issues with Fire Rocket in BT8 was that we had started getting the ex-ante Alphamon line stuff that was doing, like, actually that might have been, no, that was BT7, but it was the beginning of this gains blocker during your opponent's turn, not this has blocker. Now, just a bunch of things have blocker. Melga X swings into this and dies. It dies to a fire rocket. It's great. And then 3 Heaven's Judgments, because this is probably the best option in the game. You don't have to hit color requirement if you have Lydra or Davis and Ken. It always does minus 6k. Well, quite frankly, if you're able to use it in, I guess if you have Davis and Ken as your color source, you won't get anything more than minus 6k, but if you're going and using this when you have only Davis and Ken, you're probably in a bad spot. But if you have Lydramon out, you're doing minus 16. 18. I can math. No, I can't. I'm not a math guy. You're doing minus 16. 18. I just said it. If you have anything else that isn't a VMon, then you up it to, what, minus 24? Yeah. On a very regular basis, this just says pay 7, kill a Leviamon, and probably something else. Yeah, because it needs 3. Yeah. If you have another color source. It's just good. Also, unlike previous versions of armor, this means we also can semi-consistently actually have security bombs between Heavens, Fire Rocket, and Magna. We just actually have security bombs now. Admittedly, I feel like Magna's primary issue is that you need a VMon out to get the full effect, but we're getting there. We're getting there. Like I said, I do probably want to cut the Chimeras because I have not been supremely enjoying them, and replacing them with, and that's the debate, probably an armor texture, maybe an awakening, and I'd probably rebalance Flame and Lydra, getting up to 4 Lydra so that I can get more consistent sources for Heaven's Judgment. And I have no idea what I'd cut for a Magna X, but I legitimately think I would run a single Magna X. Like, one Magna X, one Magna X, one armor texture, one awakening at most. Failing that, I might just cut the Chimeras and run both of them as armor texture, since they also can't be searched anyway, so it's functionally not changing up any of my search balancing. Not that any of the others really matter a ton. Although I do need to remember if old Magna X, not talking about BT16 yet, I don't remember if old Magna X counts as having free. I don't believe it does. I knew new one does, but I don't remember if old one does. Either way, just, the deck is pure gas. The entire point is we swing as quickly as we can, hopefully before Levia manages to build up a board and start, well, not even build up a board. We try and kill them before Levia manages to get Biting Crush or a level 5 set up. Yeah, I did see at least one other person running Death X. I don't think it's bad. I don't know where I'd put it that wouldn't mess with the build, because I feel like the Tamers are pretty consistent. Like, I guess you can cut the Digimon Emperor. I just think that it would be silly to do so. Yeah, I don't know what I would cut for a Death X. I guess you could go down to 3 Fire Rockets, but I think 4 is just too important. And I feel like the deck could use another blue Tamer, but I have no idea what I would actually want, because Memory Setter Davis bottom decks too many of our potential targets, especially since Lydra's our only green Digimon. Yeah, I don't know what other blue Memory Setter I would actually want. I don't think we'll ever really get any significant use out of the VMon end of turn, because I get why Chimera is good, it doesn't personally end up working out well for me, so, yeah. Yeah, I just think we should start talking about the individual matches, because they were an experience. Oh boy, I'm so glad I wrote these down, but it's gonna be a lot. So, I obviously did not get to experience games against every archetype. In fact, I only started testing this the night before the regional, so I only tested against Devas and Levia. Devas is pretty much a lock. There are some issues. Like I said, Flame Dramon doesn't ever armor purge, so you have to be a little bit careful about that. Actually, that's pretty much it. Obviously, you need to be worried about their aces and everything, but between Zudo, Magna, and Heavens, we're just not that worried about it. Levia, it's basically a 50-50 toss-up, and unfortunately, I bricked almost every game against Levia. The night before, I had slightly better luck with practice, but not a ton better luck. But still functionally amounted to kill them before they get anything really going, and hope that they don't manage to set up Biting Crush on turn 2, which they almost always did. But let's talk about the actual rounds. So, round 1 was not on the main stream, but was on my stream. Played against a Beals player. It was honestly pretty much on lock. They Obviously, Beals is still a very high roll deck, but it's a deck that I've had a fair amount of experience playing against. So the closest I think I came to losing was at one point they started to build up into a Beals stack, and I was kicking myself because I realized that there was no Beelzemon in trash when I could have killed a Balmon, and don't know how the heck I forgot about the fact that it only plays from trash, not hand. Oops. But they got into, yeah, they tried to do the full combo off, got into Beals, uh, tried to pop something. I blocked one. No, didn't even block. I let the Beals swing through in hopes that I could get maybe a useful tamer. Didn't. Or Magna, because I didn't have any sources to do the evolution onto, but the D-Digivolve still would have kind of messed them up. Didn't work out that way. But what did happen was they tried to push out into another. They had a second stack that their goal was to clear all of my security by doing Beals checks, then go into ex ante to trash two remaining security, unsuspend with Beals blast mode, swing clear last security, then swing with their other body. And because I could tell that's what they were trying to do, it was they swung with Beals. Right, I didn't block. I blast evoed into Zudo to source strip the other body that they'd pushed out, and once it had no sources, bounce it to hand. They killed my Zudo, which obviously meant that they then regained memory, but it doesn't matter because without Beal's Star, the deck just doesn't have a way to give anything rush. So I knew that I was going to live for that turn, and it came down to, well, I have nothing on the stack, but I do happen to know that if they give me 2 memory, because I'd cleared all of their security, if they give me 2 memory, then I win. Because they knew that I had a jamming Vmon in hand, and I knew that I had a Louis in hand. So if they give me 2 memory, play Louis, suspend, gain back the 1, swing for free with jamming V when they have no security, and I just win. And that's pretty much how the Beals game went, was just... It's 2 decks that are both trying to go hard and fast as quickly as they can, but Beals requires arguably more setup, especially with the limit to EX1 Imp, so it's a pretty favored match. Round 2 is the Levia that you can see both on my stream and on Digipanda's stream, though I will say I feel like Digipanda and Risu did not get that this doesn't run Magna X, because there are times when Magna X is useful, but most of the time the only reason I would have wanted Magna X was just because the thing I swung with didn't die or didn't armor purge in security. So, because Magna X is just a purely defensive play, and I just, and especially when we've got Levias running around, it doesn't trade with Levia, and it's not even a speed bump for Levia swinging through security, so, so that one was the one on stream. It went bad. I didn't get Magnas in security as consistently as I would have liked. Game 1, I literally threw back one hand with no rookies and redrew a hand with no rookies, despite the fact that there are, 15? Yeah, 15. So that was fun. Round 3 was Luga. The matchup with Luga is very... I'm going to say one-sided, but that mostly is because we're not running any floodgates, so Luga's not getting a ton of advantage popping our rookies with new Luga. If the opponent isn't super familiar with armor, which who'd blame them, they'll often try and use Fenry to pop an armor, and that's exactly what my opponent did on at least one instance. Tried to pop an armor, went, cool, armor purge, don't get the unsuspend. Because they have a ton of sourceless Digimon, Magna and Zudo are both really good at cleaning up a board, and Luga only consistently runs the one blocker Tyrannomon now that they don't need to run Phasgamon. So it's pretty straightforward. Also, if they hit a Fire Rocket in security while they have uh, 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 IG, whatever, however his name's supposed to be pronounced, in sources, you just killed their Fenry. Same issue for them with Magna. If you de-digi into the Soul, they'll still probably get the 2 checks through, but now that they've lost the Fenry, there's a very good chance that turn is about to pass to you because they don't have Fenry to maintain the 3 memory don't pass turn thing anymore. So it's a very, very armor favored match. Digimon Emperor also comes in very clutch against it. Round 4 was a matchup against another matchup against Levia. I took it 2-1. I lost the one round largely by keeping a... It's a hand that had potential, and that was my bad. I kept a hand that had potential and not a good hand. But the other 2 were basically just go gas and hope to not hit... Actually, it's basically just hope to not hit Biting Crush and Security, because you don't even care that much about hitting 7th Lightning, because all it does is guarantee that my armor pops. Just, oh, hell yes, my armor popped? Cool, I'll get another armor out of it. So, yeah, that's pretty much the big thing. Again, Flame is a slight issue there, since aside from their megas, they don't have anything in security that's going to help you. Well, help you armor purge. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It was just you have to hit them fast and you have to hope that their security is like 7th Lightnings and not Biting Crushes. Round 4 was Omni Turbo, which admittedly I was not prepared for. But I took that one 2-0 as well. Again, the game is fairly straightforward because similar to Luga that puts out a bunch of sourceless bodies, Omni Turbo puts out a bunch of sourceless bodies. The most threatening thing that I ran into was when they got into the Omni X. Also, I should probably explain, if you haven't seen Omni Turbo, it's weird. It runs the Dark Master level 5s from BT 15 to play Dark Masters into security and search their deck for megas, then push out the Dark Masters next turn, get their when attacking. Most of their when attackings aren't really a huge threat to armor. Like, we want all of our stuff to be suspended anyway, because we're attacking, and the things that I'll leave unsuspended will be stuff like Magnas, so... Oh no, you triggered the armor purge and now you can't kill it. The D-Digi from Machine was a little annoying. I think Puppet helped them once, and I didn't see any Metal Seadramons. Metal Seadra would have actually been a slightly bigger issue. But because they're building a stack that starts from a level 6 usually and then tops out at a level 7, they're pretty easy to remove with both Zudo, Ace, and Magna, especially if they end up as a dual color, though I don't think there are a ton of those. Yeah. Apocalypse was a little bit of an issue, but since that's limited to 1 now, it's also a inconsistent issue. But fundamentally, I ended up just sort of... when they did get into an Apocalypse, I just ignored it and just kept swinging because it didn't have blocker? Yeah, no blocker, so it was just, okay, cool, you're going to try and mill me and make 1 check with it per turn, and I'm going to try and kill you before that happens. And that's exactly what this deck did. So yeah, once again, Magna and Zudo actually came in super clutch there. Round 6 was Melga, which I was not prepared for. Yes, Fire Rocket out of security kills a bunch of their... well, mostly just Melga X. Unfortunately, once Melga X has come into play, Armor has a very bad time. Because that minus like lose 4 memory on swing is very, very unpleasant. My opponent was mostly running I don't even know if they were running anything besides the Melga Ace. So that meant that I could try and keep turn by doing stuff like source stripping, Melga X with Magna to maintain turns, or with Zudo. But it was rough. Heavens also helped a bit. Like I said, it was, I think I took that one, or lost that one. It was either I lost it 0-2 or 1-2, but it was not a fun match, and part of it was definitely some bad bricks. Like, actually, yes, it was definitely because of bricks, because one of them I quite literally threw back a hand, drew a new one, had, I think it was Jamming Vemon, Heaven's Judgment. No, don't think it was Heaven's. I had something else. 2 Magnas and something else. That game was over so quickly that I drew 3 cards. Every single one of them was a Magna. And when I checked the next top 2 cards just to suffer, they were also Magnas. So that was bad. The statistics were not on my side there. I think the matchup against Melga is actually very achievable. You just need to not have your deck give you literally 7 Magnas in a row with only 1 rookie and no blue tamers. It was rough. Round 7 was Levia. I was still pretty tilted by the Magna shenanigans. I was also a little annoyed because this was a very slow Levia player. This deck that is all gas and has no breaks at all, went to time, not willingly. That one was also 2-1 in their favor. I won 1 game and very much could have won another. This is actually the match that made me think that Chimera either needs to be cut down to 1 or just cut, because I was in another situation of, we're in time, I have 2 Chimeras in hand and a Fire Rocket that's useless, but if I can draw an Armor, a Louis, or a Promo Vemon, I win. Because if I drew any combination of those, I had enough memory to... not combination, just any one of them. Because I think I had 5 memory, so if I played a Lydra, I could DNA into Chimera, swing for lethal. If I drew a Louis, I could push out the rookie that I had been raising, swing for lethal. If I drew a Promo V, I could play it for 3, Evo into Magna because I had the cost reduction. So I could go into either of the Magnas, then go into Chimera and win. But didn't draw any of them. I drew, I think, the 3rd Heaven's Judgment, which just, yeah. And then finally, round 8 was Numa. Honestly, I don't feel like it was a great version of the way the matchup should play. It was round 8. I had now just been dropped down to folks who lost 3 games, so it was like they were doing their best, but also everyone was flagging at this point. We were 10 hours into a thing that should have been done in 8 or 9, so it was mostly just an absolute stomping, because obviously Numa's primary goal is to get into Numa X and use either X antibody under sources or a Numamon in sources to then play out a Platinum. They always managed to get their Platinum into trash, but they never got into Platinum because, again, between Magna and Zudo, I can always make sure that I can source strip out the thing that is providing Numa X the qualifier, and they just didn't often Evo on to Numa X, even when they had Monzemons. They would play the Monze instead of trying to Evo it. I think they might have drawn it in different sequences that I'm realizing. So yeah, Magna and Zudo both really mess with that deck because you stop them from getting their on deletions. Same thing with the Monzes, because it's very easy to go into Magna, source strip the one thing that they've thrown under a Monzemon, bounce the Monze to hand, and now you've got a Magna, and you swing. Yeah, it's a fairly straightforward matchup. I feel like the fundamental issue with it is the same one that Numa is still having, because Numa doesn't have BT16 Uko, and that means that their only search, not card draw, because obviously they've got Garamon for card draw, but their only search is RBO1 Numa, who needs to die. And if I'm not letting your stuff die because I'm bouncing it, you're not getting any search. And that really was a really bad matchup for them. I think it's going to be a worse matchup for Armor come BT16 once they can actually run Uko, and that also means that they can run the security minus Garamon at a higher count, if they're running it at all. Yeah. Yeah. It was a rough matchup for the Numa, because they need to maintain Monze on board, and I had to be a little bit worried about, like, a Zulong, but that's, again, why you just always make sure that you're bouncing their Monze so they can never get into a Zulong, or come BT16 Valkymon. Valkyrmon? There's a single letter missing from the Valkyrie part, and I'm never sure how to pronounce it then. But yeah, I think I'm going to be playing this for a while, because I played Armor back in BT8 and hated it because that was before Mulligan. But despite at the time running 16 rookies, I still somehow never saw them. I feel like it's better now. And again, especially with Fire Rocket actually having killable targets now, it's great. I think this Vmon is wonderful. The card draw is much more consistent than, unfortunately, Wanyamon, because the draw for blue tamer is a little rough since half of our tamers are white. Though, notably, Vmon does still get the cost reduction if you just have a tamer. It doesn't need to be a blue tamer. So that's nice, because you can push out with Louis if you have to get this Vmon out and working. So if you're going second and you have 3 memory, I think it's actually pretty viable to do like V and raising, push out with Louis, suspend Louis, so 3 go to 0, gain 1 from Louis, then Evo into one of the 2 costs for 1, and be able to get at least 1 check with Vmon that turn, and get the card draw off of the inheritable. And, notably, that's not a once per turn on that inheritable, so if you go into Magna, or if you get Armor Purged and then go into something else and can unsuspend with Davis and Ken, or Armor Texture like I want to have in here, then you get more card draw. Also notable that because we have Uko, Louis, and potentially Digimon Emperor, you can use Armor Texture without having an armor on board if you have a white card. So you can swing with jamming V, then Armor Texture, go, well, there's no armors to de-digivolve, but I do have this card that I can evolve into an armor, and do that. I guess technically you can also do it with Promo V, and arguably it's better, but I wouldn't do it unless you have Buka under and can guarantee that it'll live. There was at least one instance where I did something akin to that, where I like swung with jamming V, then went into like Lydra and suspended Davis and Ken to get the unsuspend, then played Fire Rocket, and I think we figured out that it probably would have come out better if I'd Evo'd V into whatever, Fire Rocketed, swung, and then it would have hit something in security to Armor Purge, and then hit the jamming. Then we could have Evo'd. it's one of those hindsight's 2020 things, but in general, I think between armor texture and an armor texture that I don't have but need, and Davis and Ken, I think this is very capable of really slamming through a lot of security quickly. Also, like maintaining a Louis in hand is just always correct, because if you have one Louis in hand and you know that you have an egg, you don't even necessarily need a rookie. If you've got an egg in raising and you've got a Louis in hand, you just know that if you can end, or not end, but if you can have two memory and any rookie, you can win. Because it's the exact same as the Blitz Omni for things that are actually running red and blue level 6s, or the old version of this deck that would have had one or two Kumamons or Lobomons to go on to one of the Tamers to get that 2-cost, haha, swing for lethal. But with Louis, you can always make sure that it's coming out of raising, so you know it's safe. And I definitely won at least 2 games off of holding a Louis in hand and knowing that provided I have at least 2 memory, I can swing for lethal. And if there's already a Louis on board, don't even need 2 memory. And if it's an Uko, you don't even need 2 memory if it's an Uko that you put into raising. The deck is pure gas. Again, I think Chimera is a problem. I wish Flame Dramon didn't get the DP buff. Otherwise, it's good. I feel like it needs a little bit of rebalancing. Like I said, armor texture, maybe Awakening. The only reason I say maybe on Awakening is because I think it wants Magna X, but I'm not sure. Also notable, because I was wrong about this, I didn't realize that armor texture has an errata, which I feel real bad about as a judge, because I've called a lot of other people out on not knowing when there is an errata. I very specifically didn't include armor texture in this list, even though I thought about it after building it, because the security effect as printed in BT8 is not optional, which wouldn't be a problem, except that obviously Levia's running around, and because it says play from hand or trash, if it's not optional, then you have to play one of your rookies from trash. Now that I know that it's optional, it's great, and I wish it was here, and it will be. But yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with almost all of this, so I hope you all will enjoy. Like I said, I'll link the, oh goodness, the VOD that has all of my games at the end. And yeah, that's actually pretty much it. Hello, car going outside the window. That's the first one that's gone outside this entire... It might not have even been picked up on the mic. I'm rambling now because now we're at the end. But I'm hyped for this, but I also need to, you know, leave for PAX in like 20 hours, so I need to edit this and publish it. It'll be fun. You can also go to fenoflore.com, where I will have done some amount of write-up on this. I actually wrote out all of my round matches and cuts and my thoughts on tweaks and things in the DigiPrism team Discord. I'm part of a team, we just don't talk about it very often. So I will mostly just be copying that over and redoing my text speech, because I unironically was asked how my matches went, and my teammates know that if you ask me that, I'm going to explain each individual round and then talk about tweaks I want to make, and then I think I might have actually also written a conclusion. I talked about pinch points for the deck, which again is mostly just the 2 costs and the fact that there's not a good replacement for any of them, and there not being enough 2-cost evolutions. So yeah, go check out fenoflore.com. Because I'm out of town for PAX East. Hi, if you're at PAX East, you should come see me. I will be at the Foam Brain booth. One of them. There are two. I don't know which one I'll be at. I probably should, but I don't remember off the top of my head. So, yeah. Come find me if you want to, sure. And I probably won't have Digimon with me, but I think that's pretty much all the stuff. Pretty sure that's all the stuff. Yeah. So, thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you had a good time. And as a reminder, this special thank you to April, Fragile Paper, Pinball Witch, oh my god, I can talk, I swear. Yalc and Pimento for supporting the stream and also YouTube content and my written content and all of the other absurd shit that I do because, frankly, there's too much of it. I quite literally couldn't do this without all of y'all. You can find me at all these places down below, or go to beacons.ai/layer-of-lore. No, I don't know why that one isn't Fen of Lore yet, mostly because changing it's a pain in the ass. To find all of the places I am. I'm a little bit more active on Blue Sky than Twitter, since Twitter is a fucking hellspace now. I'm not in the first minute and a half of the video, I can swear now. Yeah. Have a great day, night, whatever time zone it is for y'all, and I will see you when I get back from PAX for like a week, and then I'll be gone again. Yeah, bye.